Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I am officially back from the UK, so I will be back to making videos on a more regular basis. And in case you haven't heard, they have released a new game mode to cards, the Skirmish Gamemode, which is a short-lasting special game rule event with its own separate queue. They've done a couple special game rule events before um, for various uh, like holidays and such. But this seems like it's going to be a staying feature. There will be a new game mode every 2 weeks, which will give them a chance to come up with a new rule, make sure it's all working correctly. And the first one we get is at the start of your turn, at the start of each player's turn, deal 1 damage to each of their units. So all units on your side of the board take 1 damage at the start of each of your turn, which, as it turns out, will have a pretty drastic um, effect on how the game is played. If you want to play this skirmish for yourself, just open the game and click the skirmish button on the top left. I hope they move this because it's very out of the way. It took me a long time to figure out where it is, but it's underneath the gold at the top left. Just click it. Doesn't cost gold to enter. You don't need any collection requirements. Just anybody can hit skirmish and play. And after your first win, you will unlock a brand new card, all 4 copies, which is Supply Shortage. I've already played one game of the skirmish, so I've unlocked it already, but it's this card. The theme of the skirmish is based off of the card's effect, which is enemy units receives 1 damage at the start of owner's turn. So what this means is you play this card, and all of the enemy units on their side of the field will now take 1 damage at the start of the opponent's turn until the unit dies. So, in effect, this is similar to a Tora in that it will deal 1 damage to all of the enemy units, not immediately on your turn, but at the start of the opponent's turn. So if they're at 1 health, it will kill them. They won't be able to attack. So the downside of not killing them immediately, in case you want to take the front line, and it doesn't hit HQ, it can't be buffed with the Japanese order buff powers. But what it does do is it lasts. This is not a one-time effect. They will continue taking 1 damage at the start of their turn until that unit dies or the game ends. Which means if you play this on a 2 health unit, it will drop to a 1 health unit. Their opponent can attack with it, they can move with it, and then it will die at the start of the next turn. So this is a very, very powerful anti-aggro card. I would rate this card, like, if I was doing a out of 5 scale, 5 out of 5. This card is absolutely insane, in my opinion. Um, I don't know if it's going to be a 4 of, necessarily, in every deck. You could certainly run a 4 of, because of a combo I will get to in a second. But this is just a very strong anti-aggro card. The amount you run is probably dictated on the amount of aggro you're playing against, because its power drops off against control decks. However, I think a lot of people are writing this card off against control when it still does something. So if your opponent has a bunch of planes on the board and you might have like 20 plus health with guards, normally you might just surrender because your opponent has a ton of bombers in the support line you can't deal with. Carpet bomb doesn't kill them. You play supply shortage, and then maybe you have to tank a turn or two of these bombers being on the board, and then by that point they're within range of the carpet bombing. So just constantly grinding down their board is really helpful against any deck. Well, any deck that runs units. Obviously, if you're playing against a combo, this is pretty dead. But yeah, I think this card is insane. And I don't know if this was intended or not. We might have to see some rapid nerfs. I'm just illiterate. Uh, Critical damage, which is a card which has seen zero play. Um, 2 cost, also British order. Enemy units get when this unit receives damage, pin it, which means supply shortage plus critical damage means every single unit on the opponent's board will be pinned until it dies, which is ridiculously powerful because, first of all, if you think about it, it's a 2 card 4 credit destroy the opponent's board combo. Um, Except it's even better than that because the units stay on board until they die, which means they're taking up board slots. Uh, seems absolutely insane. It's just 4 credits, wipe the board against aggro or control, and it like actually can lock your opponent into the game. Because if your opponent has their support line full of like massive 8-9 health units, they have like 2 Grenadier Guards, a Schwalbe, and a King Tiger, and you play critical damage, supply shortage. Your opponent can't play units for however long it takes to kill the first unit. Like, this is ludicrously powerful. I suspect one of these 2 cards will be nerfed pretty soon to address that, and then after that, as assuming supply shortage stays the same, I think it's still going to be quite a powerful card. But enough of that. Today, I'm planning on showing off 3 different deck ideas I had for the skirmish mode. Like I said, I've only played 1 game so far with this German France deck, but I'll quickly go over all 3 of these decks and then play a game with all 3 of these decks and hopefully win all of them. And deck codes will be in the description of the video if you want to use these decks or something similar for yourself. So first one is German France Burn. Basically, it's very similar to the list that I would run um, just normally, with the exception of it has less removal because I'm expecting my opponents to be playing less units because of the special game mode. So you have a lot of cheap cycle, resistances, erratos, and then you have burn 4 propagandas, 3 damage each, 3 lightning strikes, 4 damage each, um, 3 air blitzes, 3 damage each, 4 retaliations, however much damage your opponent attacks you for, Kriegsmarine, 2 Cross of Lorraines for 3 damage each. Basically, the idea of this deck is to kill your opponent as quickly as possible, exclusively using orders, which works really well for a game mode where units are a lot worse. The next deck I have is a Britain-Japan Commonwealth deck. So again, not using a ton of units. This one has more units than the last deck because it tries to get as much use out of them as possible. So it has 2 recon regiments because this is essentially just draw 2 cards. It's basically like a convoy, since the game will damage it for you. 4 critical damages because if your opponent plays any units, you don't even need to play your own supply shortage because the game mode is supply shortage, so just critical damage pin all of your opponent's units until they die. I'm running timely supplies. I just threw this one in because I feel like convoy could get my hand a little too overcrowded. And then a ton of healing, 4 naval powers, 3 honeys, 4 fortifications, 2 of the 3k orb. Don't try to get me to pronounce that. Scouting party for more crazy amounts of draw. And then I had a few slots left over, so I just threw in some decent cards. Sexton, Commando in case I start popping off with like critical damage. And then obviously the win condition is getting to 30 and killing my opponent with Commonwealth. And then I have a couple aerial reconnaissance. The downside of this deck, well, I suspect there's going to be a lot of people playing Burn, which this deck should be pretty handedly. If I play against anyone with any sort of healing, there's not really enough units to get me across the finish line, except for maybe with the Commando. So I'm a little worried that this deck could get locked out by some sort of ramp with large units. And then my third deck, going in line with not playing a ton of units on board, is Japan, US bolster OTK. I got my 2 burst of fires, I got my 3 bolsters, and then Tonys, Shidens, Kikas, whatever it takes to basically just kill my opponent with a massive attacking fighter. Then I have credit gain to get access to those quicker, and a little bit of stall, some guards, pretty standard stuff. But that's enough preamble. Let's get into it in the order that I described them in. So up first is this German France burn deck. This is the deck that I used to get my win already. Hopefully queue times aren't that long. Um, this game mode's been out for about 6 hours, so I would suspect there's still a lot of people playing. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not yet, but this game mode is only around for a, less than 3 days. It goes away some point in the evening on the 19th. So try to get in when you still can. So how to play this deck is you want Phony War, because you need a form of card draw, and going second Enigma's going to be a lot worse. Enigma's good to play after Phony War. Then I want Reichsbanks to get my credits up. Ride of the Valkyries is basically just free, and with the Phony War, I'm going to want to be getting cards out of my hand as quickly as possible, so I'm even considering the Air Blitz, but I think I want to look for a bank. Liberation. Not great. I did put in 2 Liberations into this deck, which is a little non-standard for me, but I was worried that there was going to be a lot of burn. Hopefully my opponent is not playing Commonwealth. With a lack of comment, I could have put in comment because it does avoid the effect, but with a lack of comment, it's going to be pretty hard to kill my opponent if he's running a ton of healing. So up next, I'm probably going to do Liberation. Okay, he passes. In case he's holding up an Ultra, I'm going to Lurking Danger first. Then I'm going to discard Retaliation, just because it's less consistent, he hasn't played units yet. And then because of the Rise of the Valkyrie, this gives me 2 credits back, so I essentially just gained a credit and got a card out of my hand. Then Liberation kills his hand to full, makes Frost of Lorraine go down to 0. Frost of Lorraine. And then he's probably not going to be drawing cards next turn, so I'll just get the Air Blitz out of my hand. And just like that, it's turn 4, and I've dealt 9 damage to my opponent, and have a hand refill. Buddy, you should not be dealing damage. I don't think he has the correct read on the situation. But if your opponent deals 9 damage from hand on turn 4, I feel like bringing yourself to 9 is not a good idea. He didn't have Ultra or Doubt in the last 2 turns. But if this gets hit by... Okay, that's good. I don't believe I'm going to have anything I can play. No. Coming up next, I don't actually have any burn in hand. But if that gets to the front line, I just double Retaliation. So let's cycle. And then cycle some more. Gain some credits. I'm going to discard the Stranglehold, just because I feel like I'm going to win regardless with Retaliation. Then I might be able to win a little bit faster with Lightning Strike. Oh, I got 6 damage through. Stand fast. He doesn't have access to bolster. He's British Soviets. So he's no longer dead if he draws this turn. Yeah, that's fine. He should just be dead to Retaliation, as he has healing. We've seen the honey get milled. Tamanskaya. So this guy just went for the create a large unit and make sure it never dies. Like just ignore the 1 damage a turn effect. So I'm definitely going to hold up Retaliation. Also going to hold up Lightning Strike just in case he heals a bit. And then bank, that sets up, if I'm not dead, oh wait, sorry, if he's not dead, then I can do a phony war and probably get enough burn to get myself across the finish line. But if he attacks base, he just dies. Yep, pretty simple win. Turn 7. I think that's about what I won last time with the deck. So yeah, German France, just very good. It's a weak if you play against something with a ton of healing, which is what I'm about to play now. I'm going to switch to the Britain-Japan Commonwealth deck. But German France was what I immediately thought of when I saw the description. While I'm just sitting in queue, I suppose I can talk about my future plans. So as I've mentioned a few times before, I'm not going to be able to get back to streaming until September, but once September comes around, I do intend to start streaming regularly multiple times a week, while still doing videos, of course. But in the short term, I do have another trip, short trip, coming up later this week, and OCC a week today, or a week tomorrow, sorry. But I will try to pre-record another video again, maybe do a video testing out supply shortage, maybe do a video hitting Field Marshal, because I still haven't actually played Ranked yet this month. US. So, if I were to build a US deck in this game mode, it would probably just be a ramp deck, and then a ton of big units, sort of bolster style, um, and basically just try to ignore the fact that my units take 1 damage a turn. Do I want to play Honey yet? So I play Honey, it goes to 2 on the start of my turn. Then I can, like, Ultra or something. Then it goes to 1, and then I redeployment. I think I'd actually just rather hold it. He has, well, okay, so it is ramp. I could Ultra to stop an hour of need, which would be actually pretty good if that's what he goes for. Of course, there's a lot of things, like he could just play a 4-cost unit. I think I am going to go for Ultra, just because I'm in no rush to play Orb. That's very bad. Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious and really, really bad. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna throw out Ultra so he can't duplicate that this turn, hopefully. It summons in the support line, right? Oh my goodness. Oh, this is going poorly. Okay, I'm gonna do Ultra so he can't do like an AoE heal. Maybe I can just keep these pinned long enough to Commonwealth on like 11. Commonwealth on 10 in theory. So I've played this turn. It's on 3 health on 7, 2 health on 8, 1 health on 9. Dies before turn 10. I suppose I'll just do this. I guess I should have pinned the 3-1 actually, because if he's going to double trade in, I guess if I pin the 3-1, it gets punished by. Oh, he's going face. So this 3-1's dead. This 1-1's dead. could do honey redeployment. Of course, it resets the cost on the Commonwealth, but I also heal a ludicrous amount. Do I kill the pinned one? Just to stop him from, like, getting more of those guys for free. So I think I'm going to do honey draw. Oh, that's good. I forgot I had that card in this deck. I was like, wow, this deck sucks. Just kidding, critical damage. Oh, what are you gonna do now? I do have to hit face with Sexton. Corsair. Okay, just immediately surrender. I think I'm gonna do another one with that deck, just because I feel like my opponent had absolutely no reason to surrender. Like, he wasn't necessarily winning, but he was very far from out of it yet. That Corsair was causing some problems. I had to make a difficult choice whether or not to put Commonwealth back in my deck. Is this the same guy? I'm not going to start with the Pioneer. No need. And I just have Scouting Party is just going to fill my entire hand on turn 3. I kept the critical damage just because it's... In this game mode, it's basically just 2k clear the board. Spending long time on turn 1. I have, like, no idea what you could have in your hand on turn 1. Because there's not a lot of 1-drops you would want to play in this game mode. Maybe use countermeasures of some sort? Does he have the War Machine? So I'm going to draw to 6, go down to 5 with Scouting Party, and at the start of my turn, 6, 7, 8. I might need to play Pioneer just to get it out of my hand. So I need to play 2 cards next turn to avoid milling. But I'm going to draw 3 cards, so we'll see. Okay, so if it's not the same guy, he's playing the exact same deck as the last guy. Oh boy. Ultra Mills, critical damage is a massive waste. I mean, honestly, I kind of just want to throw out the Crusader. Yeah, Soviet ally, I'm not that surprised for the Tominskayas. Okay, well, here's actually a pretty big problem with the Crusader being on board. Could be time just to get out with the Pioneer. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for the Pioneer. Then potentially save the critical damage. I could naval power it. This feels dirty. Oh, honey. Critical damage. I have enough cards to do with timely supplies. Second honey. Doesn't actually matter which one I pin. I could theoretically do a third timely supplies, or a second timely supplies. Okay, that surrender felt more justified. We'll take that as a win and move on to the third deck. Third deck is the Tony OTK. Based on what I've seen so far, I feel like Tony OTK should be pretty good. Just because of the ramp. I mean, obviously, I think the British deck is the best by far. Steve, another US. Yeah, I think we'll just throw out the recon for double draw, War Machine on 2, and hope to draw into an Arrow of Need. Because I have 5 draws for Arrow of Need. Is that true? So I had 1 draw, 2 draw, 3 draw, 4 draw. Yeah, I have 5 draws for Arrow of Need. 4 now. And there it is. I feel like I can't get a good judge on the power level of my deck because I'm playing against opponents who aren't necessarily playing the best decks. Point playing the best. Ooh. So, if I do Southern Clan, I have 6 credits on the following turn. If I do Arrow of Need, I have 7. There's nothing I can do for 7. Whereas for 6, I can do Arrow of Need, War Machine. And I mean, if he just moves this up, I can always just do 61st War Machine. Well, I mean, I don't even have to do that. If he wants to spend another 2 credits attacking me, and if he does something crazy like Bolster, hit me for, like Bolster hit me for 7, I can Blade it. Or next turn I can trade Raiden Brigade into it or Desperate to just kill it. Because this is essentially just 5-2. I'll just play Desperate Home Defense. I have Bolster, Burst of Fire. So, Shiden is not quite lethal. Tony is not quite lethal. I credit off of both of those being lethal. 2 credits off Tony. Or, Kika. That kind of sucks. So this brings him into range where any amount of plane combo will get him. I'm a little worried about my health total, but I can't think of any sudden wombo combos he can pull up. What is he? Did he just like look up high health units and put them all into a deck? Kind of feels like he just put in every single high health unit in his collection into a deck. I hope he at least has bolsters or something. He's gonna spend his entire turn moving this guy to the front line. I have 5 planes, 2 draws for 5 planes. Well, it is not the planes, but I have a lot of draws. How many actual draws am I going to get next turn? Assuming I can trade in all of this and he doesn't kill anything. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pretty good shot at that. Down to 6. That is Tony. I have 16 credits. My goodness. Can even bombing right. I must target enemy. That's it. Well, that deck didn't feel necessarily super strong, but did beat my opponent. So yeah, just went 4-0 in skirmish. 3 different decks with pretty different strategies. Again, those will be linked in the description, so you should get on and play skirmish yourself if you haven't. Get your free 4 copies of Supply Shortage. The card is absolutely nuts. And like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, all that nice stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.